Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today we're going to talk about one of my very favorite things, and that is mass producing cards. One of my favorite products for mass producing is of course layering stencils. And who does layering stencils so good? Pinkfresh Studio. Also, my other favorite product for mass production is the BetterPress. I feel like I am able to get a lot of really good crisp images with the BetterPress, even more so than stamping, I would say. I do love stamping as well. So if you don't have the BetterPress and you would prefer to do this with the coordinating stamp set, Pinkfresh Studio takes that into account, and they offer stamp sets in addition to the BetterPress plates. So you can truly do this same technique whether you want to do the letterpress, BetterPress, or if you want to stamp these images, depending on what you have. I am inking up the Timeless Tulips with some charcoal ink. I have my paper on the BetterPress platform cover taped in place, and we are going to run this through our Spellbinders die cutting machine 8 times. I made 8 of these backgrounds, just inking it up one after another. You could do, again, the same thing with your stamp and a stamp positioner very easily. Now, while I have my BetterPress background out, I am going to take the other set that I'm featuring today, which is Keepsakes of the Heart. It is a vase and floral combo. With this set, the florals have the option, I should say, of being better pressed, and the vases are a stencil only. And that goes for whether you're stamping or better pressing. We're only going to do 2 of these. I have quite a few panels, and I feel like this particular design is going to take a couple more steps, more than likely. And so I decided to not do as many of this one, but you definitely could if you wanted to. Again, it's all about breaking the steps down into easy, manageable steps for mass production. Okay, when I am mass producing, I often will do what I'm going to do here with this first Timeless Tulips panel. And that is, I'm going to stencil the whole thing so I get a really good feel for how the stencils flow, how I think I want to be able to stencil them to make this go as fast as possible, etc. In this instance, I am changing the color of the florals for each background. I have 8 different color combos. Those are all listed and linked below the video here on YouTube, as well as over on my blog. But the greenery is going to be mint and meadow, and that color combination is going to be the same no matter which panel I'm working on. Because of this, I am going to ink this all up this first time. I do this for a couple reasons. I'm very visual. So for me, being able to see this finished helps guide the rest of my choices for the card creation. And number 2, I like to kind of do not exactly a walkthrough since we're actually stenciling it, but almost a walkthrough of what we're going to do for mass producing, so I have a feel for what to do in which order, because I may switch up the order of the stencils. In fact, I did, not right at the beginning, but part of the way through. And the other thing is I realized pretty quickly, because the greenery portion of this design is 2 steps, it's 2 stencils. I'm using a light and a dark. Well, I want to do all of the light first. So I'm going to take this same stencil in each of the backgrounds and go through all of them and do the light green. And then we're going to take the second stencil and go through and do all of the little bit darker color of green. These are all things that you discover after doing them once. I love having an example kind of prepped and ready to go to reference, especially if you can't sit and do your mass producing all in one sitting. Full disclosure, I did not. This was actually split over the course of a couple of days. I started it later in the afternoon on one day, and I finished it in the morning of the second day. So this is something that you more than likely well, I shouldn't say more than likely. Maybe you do it all on a Saturday or something, but you can. You can stick it all in a craft stack and come back to it like the next weekend or something if you want to. Anyway, I always kind of like to just give myself a sample version, if you will, and then we're going to go through and mass produce. As far as inking up the panels and cleaning them between, because we're only going to do the florals here, I kept a microfiber cloth with some rubbing alcohol spritzed on it so that I could easily wipe off my stencil in between each change. So I would ink, I would wipe it off, I'd grab the next stencil, and I would ink the next one. I don't think I'm going to ink all of these on camera. I did a few of them. Maybe I did more than a few. But what we're going to do is we're going to ink them all the tulip portion, and then I'll go back through and I'll do the greenery on all of them. All of them are exactly the same. I did definitely go for bright and colorful. A couple of ideas to make this even quicker. Number one, do the same color combos for every single one. That will require no change or no cleaning of the stencil in between. It will require no additional blending brushes, inks on your table, etc. That is going to make it even quicker and easier. Number two, for the background of my card, which I'll show you here in a minute, I used a previously released BetterPress plate, and I used it more as an embossing folder. I ran it through my machine just with plain white cardstock to give my background a little bit of decoration. You could eliminate that step as well and just place your tulip right on a colored cardstock background, a plain cardstock background, or white background without any additional detailing like the embossing or the debossing that I did. You can eliminate the vellum layer that I added with the square dotted edge postage frame for the Timeless Tulip cards. You do not have to add splatter if you don't want to, or you could eliminate one or two of those things and keep a couple of the others. Really, it's just anything you can do to make the process work for you. As you are here on my channel, if you have been here for a while, you know that my motto is I'm a little extra. One thing that I had told myself throughout the entire process of creating these cards, the entire time, you guys, I was inking these cards, I thought, I am not going to add any gems to these. This is a lot of steps. This is a lot of work. We are not going to add anything extra. What do you think happened? I added twine to all the tulip cards, and I added gems to all 10 cards. So something that I want to stress is if in one sitting you are sitting there and things that you are normally known for, let's say, maybe you're like me, let's just use the gems as an example. You love to add those finishing touches with clay shapes, gems, sequins, etc. And you're like, I'm not feeling it, even though you know that it's going to look amazing. And you're like, I'm not feeling it. Sleep on it. I slept on it and got up the next morning and looked at my cards and went, I'm ready now. I'm ready to add those gems. I was just tired the night before. So sometimes you will reevaluate, I guess I'm saying. Okay, so all of the flowers are stenciled. I went ahead and did all the greenery off camera. Here are those wonderful debossed backgrounds. Here are my ice vellum borders with the postage stamp. And we are going to add some spatter to all of the backgrounds. Normally, I do this in a spatter box. Why I didn't, I don't know. This Spellbinders Black or Onyx Silk product is great. It's super fast drying. That means it's super fast drying on any surface. So that means my glass mat, it does come right off, but I did have to scrub a little bit harder because it does dry so quickly. Now, this is one of those steps you could leave off. If you're not a spatter person, just leave that step off. I did like it for adding like just a little something, I think, to the background. And you'll notice that the majority of my spatter goes from the top left to the bottom right. I kind of did a diagonal, but it goes where it goes. There's not a ton of control there. And I did this for all 10 panels, and then I set them aside to dry, which was very fast. I die cut all of the second largest dotted postage from my favorite Simon Says Stamp Ice Vellum. And now we are ready to get the rest of the components for those final 2 cards that we're creating today. And that is going to be our vases and the florals that go in the vases. In this case, a lot of Pinkfresh sets do this, where part of the set is a stamp or a BetterPress or both, which again, in this case, you could do either one. And then part of it is a stencil only. I'm thinking like a couple months ago, I did like the teapot set, and that one was like that as well. Well, in this case, the vases are the stencil only. There's not a stamp or a BetterPress plate for those. So you're going to stencil those completely. It's a 2-step process. I'm using all of the same ink colors that I have already used throughout the rest of creating these designs. And then you saw earlier, we did do the BetterPress for the leaves and little floral, the stems basically that go in these vases. Now I want to mention this. I was not thinking at all. I did do each of the vases in its own colorway, but I was not thinking about the bottle stopper on these, or the looks like it's a cork topper. I just did them all in color. Now it's not going to matter for my card because I actually don't use that portion. But sometimes it's a really good idea to look at the dies that coordinate, because the die, even though it's one die that cuts all 3 vases at once, it is also going to die cut the cork topper individually. So you can use that with or without, which is important, right? If you don't want to put the stems in these vases, then you can use them for other things. You can put the bottle toppers on it. And if I was going to use the cork bottle topper, I would have inked that portion with a different color of ink. So I might have made the choice to use more detail blending brushes for the different components. I just want you to be aware of that because I was not thinking about it at all. And here in a minute, when I die cut the rest of the pieces for my cards, I looked at it and I was like, oh, and it didn't matter because my ultimate vision, I wasn't going to use them anyway. But if you even wanted to have it like one of the little cork toppers, or a couple of them, laying out to the side of the vase, like you uncorked the bottle and stuck a stem inside, right? You could do that. I decided I didn't really want to do that with the colorful cork toppers. There's nothing necessarily wrong with them, and it was okay to pitch them. But I think if I had made a different design choice, maybe you might have tried to incorporate it. Who knows? Okay, so once I have these vases done, I am going to do my florals for both panels exactly the same. That means the flower color is going to be the same. All the greenery is going to be the same. I did pull in one additional greenery color. I think a tidal pond maybe is the color. That's just going to be my darkest color on top of the greens. And that'll be my last stencil. But you're going to see some creative inking here because I want to avoid the 2 flower blooms, so I can do those in a color other than green. I did stick to Mint and Meadow originally here, and I'm just kind of trying to be careful. We're going to use some pinks for our little blooms, but everything else is green, and that is okay. Our vases are really bright and colorful, so I didn't feel the need to incorporate even more color into the leaves and things like that for this card. And it made it easy that I didn't have to clean my stencils because I'm doing this twice. We have 2 of these cards. I didn't have to clean them by keeping the colors the same. Excuse me. All right, we're going to layer on our next stencil, and we have one more stencil after this. So and you can see me hesitate because I was like, oh, what am I doing? But the darker green color, Meadow, we're going to do this for all the greenery here. And then we're going to do our darker teal color, and then we're going to die cut everything. And now I've cleaned up my work desk. I've gotten rid of all the ink pads because you guys know if you're inking a lot of colors, you get lots of ink pads all over the place. Now I have gone ahead and placed my vases on one of the backgrounds. And we're going to do the same thing for the second one. I did rearrange my florals just a little bit. You know, the benefit of after doing one, and I kind of thought, oh, I want that taller branch in the middle for the next one. I don't think it really makes that big of a difference. The other difference between the vase cards and the tulip cards, I did not use the vellum postage edge square in the background. These take up quite a bit more room, or just the style of them is a little bit different. So I did not feel the need to add the vases for this particular card design. I probably could have. It could have gone back behind the vase area, but I also wanted to shift these up a little bit, leaving a little bit more room down at the bottom. I think it naturally lends itself well to the perfect spot for a greeting. And we're going to talk about greetings next and my thought process behind greetings. Now, what you can do with this project, and really, you know, full disclosure here, I actually had intended to only maybe put a greeting on a couple of cards. This is a great set. If you need to just make a bunch of cards and not necessarily have them be occasion specific, you could put all of these together minus the sentiment. And then when you need birthday cards, sympathy cards, congratulations cards, anniversary cards, a wedding card, whatever the case may be, you can go ahead, BetterPress or stamp a sentiment then and pop it on. And it gives you complete versatility to make that card whatever you want. Now, I decided about this point, because this was actually the next day when I finished these, I decided, you know what, I think I'll just go ahead and do a bunch of the BetterPress greetings from these two sets. Again, we're just going to keep it all amongst these two brand new sets, but you can definitely dive into any of your other Pinkfresh Studio favorite sentiments. And we're going to do the BetterPress version. However, as always with this project, you can do the same thing with these stamps. So again, if you do not have the BetterPress, you can still achieve these cards simply by stamping them instead. Something I don't think I mentioned yet in the video either, I am actually doing the BetterPress on Hammermill cardstock, and I'm doing all my ink blending, all of the things, instead of the cotton card panel from Spellbinders, which is going to give you a much better BetterPress or letterpress impression. I've got two panels here, and I am just going to run these through twice. I picked 5 greetings from the two sets, and then I'm simply going to BetterPress them twice, die cut them twice, and that gives me 10 sentiments. And there is zero rhyme or reason to how I attach these to the cards, with the exception of the 2 vase cards. And the only reason that I did those 2 first is that I want the little bit simpler sentiments, the ones that don't have any cursive font in them, because I think they're going to fit along that bottom edge as I was talking about a little bit ago. So we're just going to grab 2 random greetings from that after we've die cut all of these, and we are going to then pop those up with foam adhesive underneath the vases. So our sentiments that we're using are, you're the perfect mix of kindness and grace. And this is for any of them. Filled with gratitude for your friendship. Just a little thank you. Friends are the keepsakes of the heart. And here's to fulfilling life with beauty and joy. So those are the 5 greetings. We're just going to simply mix and match those. I am going to fit foam adhesive on the back of all of my greetings. So I did pop up the vases on these cards. Now the tulip cards, I opted to glue those flat to the background. I also wrapped some twine around. I know I didn't show that step. That was wrapped around, let me start over. I glued the tulip to the vellum postage. I wrapped the twine around it. It's a very thin little twine. Then I glued the whole thing to my card background. Now we're popping up our greeting onto this background. You could definitely just glue it flat down if you wanted to as well, but I like that little bit of foam here. And then, of course, we will be finishing this with some gemstones here in a minute. For the most part, I tried to center my greeting or have the main portion of the greeting centered. And I'm just picking the next one up. I did not worry. It doesn't matter at all. These are so versatile. One of my favorite things to do with mass-produced cards, or really any cards, unless it's like a season type of card, is I like versatile designs. I like versatile designs that are going to work for any theme or occasion. And these are some that work really, really well for that. I think they're, they work for anything you need them to. The final step is we are now going to take some of the Pinkfresh glue and some Simon Says Stamp Prism Dazzling Gems. Using an embellishment wand, I am going to do about 5 gems, I think, on the majority of the cards, maybe a few more on the vase cards. But I am literally just mass producing. So ... add the gems. Grab the next one. And I think we can agree that they are the perfect finishing touch. I'm glad I went ahead and added these. I know I talked about earlier that I was really on the fence. I told myself all along, oh, I'm not going to do that. It's just going to be an added step. But I came back the next day and to finish these up, and just sleeping on it, giving myself a little break from the project really allowed me to say, yes, I really do want to add that thing that I know is going to elevate the design and finish it off perfectly. They are very simplistic in look and really in design, but there are those simple things like adding the background, which you could do that with a BetterPress. You could do it with inks or whatever if you wanted to, but just kind of that debossed look, a little bit of ink splatter, but keeping it very simple, the vellum on the white, but adding some gems just elevates the design a little bit. So yeah, I think I did add that little additional one to the center, that one vase. I liked that. And then just kind of followed the design of each of the backgrounds, glued all of these down to white top fold card bases. And here is just a quick run through of all 10 cards. I don't know about you guys, but it feels amazing. In one card sitting, basically, our couple of days, I was able to get 10 cards that are ready to go. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this mass-produced stenciling and BetterPress card video. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community.